Alright guys, today we're going to be playing some Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. It's probably one of the best real-time strategy games, just because the scale of it is very large, and you don't get that too often. You know, the downside to large scale is how time-consuming it is. Like this map is, I forget the size, 10 by 10 or 15 by 15 kilometers. It's medium-sized, and this game took, I think, 2 hours, 2.5 hours or something. So, anyway, I'm going to start off here building some resource towers, metal extractors, power generators, and my first factory. The factory is going to put out a few engineers. I've queued 4 engineers up to go build, and then I'm going to start making units. So this is the sequel to Total Annihilation, which is basically my favorite RTS of all time. And it's not quite as good as TA in my opinion, but it's a lot nicer to play just because it's so much newer and it works so much better on modern systems. Just the graphics and the infinite zoom scrolling is so nice to have. I still play TA sometimes, but this game I decided to install. I was looking at some mods online, and I installed some ones that address some of the issues I didn't like about this compared to the original Total Annihilation. Like how resources are gathered and used, and adjacency bonuses and stuff like that. And it balanced the unit strength and stuff like that to make it more competitive and even. And so it feels much better to play now. I'll put the mods I have in the description. But the most important one was I got this Sorian AI mod, and it replaces the computer you fight against, and it's a much better fight, more difficult and more fun to fight against than the normal computer. And it took me a few tries to beat him on a smaller map, and so I moved up to a medium-sized map, which is more difficult for me to beat him on, because the computer can just scale up with the map and control, you know, hundreds of buildings and units at the same time, whereas when I get to a bigger map, you know, it's more for me to focus on. And anyway, it's just for whatever reason, the larger the map, the more advantage the computer seems to have. So this is a medium-sized map. It's a pretty decent size, and our spawn points are relatively close. I was thinking of something I was gonna say, but oh yeah, I had already 1 or 2 attempts on this map against the computer and lost both times. Once or both times, I forget. And so this is, you know, it's not easy. It's pretty much, you know, near the peak of my skill level, so that's what's fun for me, a good challenge. And this time I decided to go heavy air. So I decided to get 1 ground factory going and just send out some units. Just have some basic, you know, stuff on the ground to protect the metal extractors. And then my second factory there is an airport, and they use a lot of energy, so I'm surrounding it with generators, which give it a bonus, adjacency bonus, so that the airport uses less energy. See, my radar just went up there, and the enemy has planes coming in already. So I'm queuing up some turrets to build, anti-air turrets. So yeah, we sort of... Sorry about this bad music. I kind of regret... And I didn't realize until 3/4 of the way through the match that my sounds were all the way off, basically. The volume was so low in the game. I turned it up at the near the end of the game so you could actually hear stuff, but... Yeah, see, there's like a very small... Oh, good. So there's the first geothermal power generator just got finished building, so that gives me a lot of power. It gives me like 250, I think. And I'm going to build an airport against it to get the power from it. Oh, yeah. Oh, also, see, there goes the airport. I also read that building power generators next to factories makes them build faster as well as use less power. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I just put that next to a really powerful generator, and I plan, I think, on upgrading that to Tech 2 airport maybe, because they use so much more energy than Tech 1. It'd be good to have it against the big power generator up there. All right, I'm upgrading a mass extractor there to Tech 2. Send out my army that's been building up. Got some bombers down there on patrol, bombing his metal extractors. So that's good. Got my engineer down there building. So I'm going through my engineers right now, making sure they're all still building metal extractors. And I'm building turrets, defense, ground and air defense turrets near the metal extractors that are far from my base. Because one of the things I did last game is I expanded really quickly and I took almost all the metal extractors on my side of the map within the first 5 or 10 minutes. And then I had a ton of metal and energy to spend on units. But then I couldn't defend them all, and ended up losing most of them throughout the rest of the game. And so this time, instead of getting them all super quickly, I'm sort of taking them one by one and building defense around them. Oh, also, you know, the other last game when I was playing on this level against the same AI, I was actually doing okay until he attacked me with an experimental spider bot, which just wrecked my whole base and killed my commander because it was so powerful. So it wasn't like the match was uneven. It was like a pretty even game until that experimental unit came out. So that's another thing I made a mental note of for this match, is to try to make an experimental unit sooner than he does. You know, they're very expensive and take a very long time to make. You need to get all the way to Tech 3 before you can make one. So it's not easy to rush up into them, but you know, I'm just going to keep it in my mind to make one as soon as I have the resources to do so. You know, just like real life, air power is the way to go to, you know, control the battlefield. It's nice to have units on the ground to get stuff done, but if you don't have a big strong air backbone to keep them protected, you know, they really control the area. You know, they're so much faster and control so much more ground area. Putting up another air factory against the metal extractor and power generator for the bonus again. And there's the enemy's main base down there. See, our spawn points are across that thin line of land. So there's his base. There's the commander. Really, I'm pretty far ahead right now. I didn't realize how far ahead I was this early when I played this, because he really comes back and pushes up into my base. The tide turns pretty soon. But he's got some good defense. So I'm probably going to be going up into Tech 2 units pretty soon. Tech 2 ground units and air units. Actually, the pain with the Tech 2 air units for this race, at least, I don't know about the other races, but for UEF, I think, no, is that what I am? I'm not sure. But whatever race I am, Tech 2 air, for Tech 1 air units, you have a fighter and you have a bomber. For Tech 3 air units, you have a fighter and you have a bomber. But for Tech 2, you have a combined fighter-bomber plane only. And it's actually worse, in my opinion, than the Tech 2 dedicated fighters and bombers. So I kind of skipped Tech 2 and went right to Tech 3. That's what you see I'm doing there. I'm queuing that factory up that I just built to make a couple engineers, Tech 1 engineers, then change to Tech 2 factory, then make a couple Tech 2 engineers, and then upgrade to Tech 3 factory. So I can make the real powerful aircraft. You know, I'd love to see a game like this be played competitively like StarCraft 2 or something is. But I think the main drawback is that, like I said, the length of time when you get into these large-scale games. This match took me a few hours. And even with smaller, more action-packed StarCraft 2 matches, they can even take a few hours sometimes, depending on how the match goes. You know, not usually, but they can. So if that can happen to them, then imagine what could happen to this game on a big map. If it normally takes like 3 or 4 hours, then imagine a big map where it takes longer than normal. You could easily be having like a 10-hour game. So it would be pretty tough to have, you know, like a best of 3 competition or something like that, or even a best of 1. You wouldn't even be able to get it done in one day if you had a bracket. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but because, I mean, I like StarCraft. I love StarCraft 2 and 1, but it's a more tactical game. This is more grand strategy. You know, there's battleships in this. And nukes, like, well, I mean, there's just a lot more stuff in it. Artillery, all the tech levels and everything, so it's pretty cool. It'd be cool to see competitive. So I just sort of set up my units in like a semicircle around his base. Around his main base. I'm not going to push in and just lose all my units to his turrets. I'm just going to let them sit outside so that when he moves out with units as he builds them, I just kill them as they come out of his base. And making some Tech 2 power generators there next to that air factory that's going to be teched up to 3. And I'm upgrading my metal extractors. You can see I'm almost out of energy at the top left there. And so I got this engineer on collect trees, which gives me these little energy bursts. Gives me just enough to keep building until those Tech 2 power generators are done. So now looks Looks like his units are coming out and challenging mine a little bit more now. He's building up more of a force, especially in the air. My air dominance is starting to get challenged. So it's a good thing I've got that Tech 3 air factory on the way. Now it looks like my power generators are done, so you can see my energy shot up on the top left. Or one is done. Grab that metal extractor there. Queue up some turrets to build afterward. You know, this game has a great single-player campaign. It's kind of neat because instead of rebuilding your base every level, you can sort of keep your base from the last level, but the level expands and gets bigger. And so it's not like this big intimidating start. It seems like it's just a little match against an easy thing at the beginning. Then as you build up, then your borders expand, and then you take more territory, and then, you know, the map zooms out again. It's hard to explain, but it's really neat how they did the campaign progression. It makes it a lot more fun, I think. Like, you get to keep all your units and buildings from the last mission, then the next mission is much bigger in scale, and so you need to build up your units and factories even more, even though you already have some. So I don't know, it's kind of cool. You get to keep building on what you already have instead of starting over every level. Here's a Tech 3 bomber about to be finished. It's a very awesome airplane. You can see the wings are straight out and not swept back. That's because that gives ideal lift at lower speeds. Swept back wings are really just to deal with high speed. Boom. One bomb, one kill. He's getting shot to shit, though. Oh, man, look at his health. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, look at all those enemy interceptors. They're only Tech 1, though. So now I've got a Tech 3 air superiority fighter coming out now. And it should be able to kick the asses of, like, dozens of those Tech 1 ones, no problem. And I've got air repair pads set up on the ground so that my aircraft can automatically land and repair themselves if they can make it back before they die. Now you can see I've gotten pushed back almost all the way to my base. He took over the air. I don't know how many air factories he has, but let's see, I'm getting swarmed at my own base now, so I'm putting up a Tech 3 anti-air turret. The first one that I'll have. I've got a bunch of Tech 2, Tech 1 anti-air turrets, but they're not as good. As you can see, there's a bunch of planes hovering right over my base, not getting shut down very quickly. But it's okay, I finally got that Tech 3 done. Oh look, I am using a Tech 2 air factory. Even though I said they suck, they do suck. I'm using them anyway, I guess. Yeah, that's the combo fighter bomber plane. It's not very good at either one. I'm queuing up a bunch of anti-air turrets around there. And a bunch of anti-ground turrets also. Well, just 3 anti-ground, just to keep that factory safe. Because it's important to keep your production very safe. Taking the, not hydro, geothermal vent generator right there. There's the SAM launcher, Tech 3. You can see it shooting rockets out. Has a much larger range too. So, yeah, keep the enemy fighters back a bit. There's a Tech 3 air superiority fighter. You can see they have a gas tank that runs out. They also have health. And when they land on a platform, it gets refilled. There's also, you know, cruiser class ships that have air repair pads on them. There's like experimental flying fortress and like aquatic / land gigantic platform like attack vehicles that they can land on to repair and all sorts of cool stuff. Queuing up a couple more Tech 3 anti-airs to build up. And now I've regained control over my own airspace.